Welcome to another episode of Old Man Running. Hey, welcome, old dudes. This is Scott and Sam, and we're here with a special guest today, Christine we're going to let her tell her the name of her personal training and what she does. And then Sam and I will catch back up later on and we'll catch up on our races over the last couple of weeks. So first of all, Christine, welcome to Old Man Running Podcast. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
So welcome.
Absolutely.
So can you tell everybody that is listening, all 49 subscribers, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I am from Long Island, New York, and I'm the founder of an intensive physical therapy clinic, and we help kids and adults with disabilities. And just this year, I founded a 501c3 nonprofit called the Run to Breakthrough that has paired my love for running with my love for helping kids and adults with disabilities with running. So they are combined, and now our mission is to create inclusive running events where kids and adults with disabilities can participate in ultra running or just short races, so they can get the feeling of the freedom of running as well.
That's awesome.
That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
So are your clients or patients, you may call them, are they also runners? Or you're teaching them to run?
Yeah, well, a lot of them are more physically disabled than that, so they don't have that opportunity because their body doesn't allow them to do that. So
Okay.
Through about 3 years ago now, in 2021, I came up with this idea. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Dick and Rick Hoyt, the father-son running duo.
I'm not familiar with that, no.
Okay,
No.
so Dick was the dad and Rick was the son, and his son had cerebral palsy and was very physically handicapped. And he participated in Ironmans and Boston marathons and took his son along. And it was like this really incredible thing. So I had always followed them and thought it was a really incredible story. And then I heard about someone who had run from the Montauk Lighthouse here on Long Island all the way to the Brooklyn Bridge, which is like over 130 something miles.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy.
That's
and I was
incredible.
like, oh my God, I could never do that. And because I had said I could never do that, a lot of these families, a lot of the kids that we work with are told that they're never going to be able to walk by like healthcare professionals, and they're never going to be able to do certain things or participate in sports. And so because I had said I could never do that and run that many miles, I took it as like a personal challenge
A challenge, yes.
to create my own ultra run. And inspired by Dick and Rick Hoyt, I decided to push our kids along the route. So back in 2021 was the first ultra run that I've done, and it was 85 miles across Long Island. And we pushed the kids, not the whole time, but we pushed the kids in an adaptive stroller through that. So they are not as fortunate to be able to use their legs in the same way, but that adaptive stroller with those wheels provides them that same freedom and feeling that we get while we're able to run.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Well, how long was if you don't mind me asking, how long did it take you guys to do the 85 miles?
The 85 miles took just under 20 hours.
Wow.
And then last year we did another one, and we did 100 across Long Island, and that took 26 and a half.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So did you run this by yourself with the kids, or did you have other runners participate?
Yeah, so I was the only one crazy enough to sign up for 185, but throughout it, I was the only one that pushed for most of it, but we were joined by like other kids. They were on their adaptive trikes, or the families also in our community joined us by foot. So we had some parents that were running and or biking, and more of the community got involved along the route. So it was really cool to kind of bring the community together in that way along the route.
Yeah, very inspiring, and kudos to
That's
you
very
for
inspiring. That's
Thank
excellent.
you.
wanting to help, get the kids excited about just being outside and a way that they can experience the sport that the three of us obviously love. And so they probably felt very special to be able to be on course and moving through the distances with you. And I'm sure they
Yeah,
look up to you too, so they probably just love that
absolutely.
you
I'm
were
sure
right
they
there
do.
with them.
Yeah, it
That's
was a
great.
really special experience. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, Sam and I have often talked about donating, or not donating, but using our time to help in it, and being a runner's assistant. Someone like with a association called Achilles, and
Hmm.
someone who either visit some type of disability where they cannot run on their own, either through sight impairment or something like that. And that's something Sam and I both said we would probably do. We certainly will do at one of our races or one of our upcoming events. But not as much to push someone. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. So kudos to you. Hats up.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
So how did you train for that? Did you take kids out and go on like 30-mile warm-ups?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I had actually the first year I didn't have the adaptive stroller till about a month before, so I didn't even get to like really practice pushing, um, which was crazy to think about. But for last year's, I did get to have the adaptive stroller, and luckily by me, there is this like paved safe loop that's about 9 miles. And so I would just organize my really, really long training runs that were like my 50K, my 50-miler, that kind of stuff. And invite families to come meet me if they wanted to be part of the training process, and I could push the kids for part of the way. But obviously coordinating schedules and timing is hard for that too. So when I don't have somebody to join me during the training, I have sandbags at our office. So I just weigh the sandbags and I throw them in there and I
There you
practice
go.
and pretend that there's a kid in there.
Okay. Wow. So how many kids get pushed at the same time? How many what's the capacity of the adaptive stroller?
Yeah, so it's only one kid in there at a time. And the weight limit, I think, is like about 195 to 100 pounds. Um, Thankfully, so far, none of the kids have been at the top of that bracket, but I've pushed
Okay.
up to like 75, 80. Yeah.
Okay.
That's still a lot of weight to push that far.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. We
And you
break
know,
it up too. So it's only like the kids, because then we switch them out because there's only one kid in the stroller at a time. So we switch them out with the assistance of like crew and families and stuff like that. So they're only in there for about like maybe between 4 or 5 miles at a time before
Okay.
they're switched out.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many of
Well,
your crew do you have like to assist you in these?
Um, well, I think that there's probably about like my dad is so great. Like he has crewed the car the whole time that has my fuel and my everything. So he's always driving the crew car. And then there's always one person alongside of him. And then we have like some of my other family members, team members that kind of go to each stop that we've scheduled, like address, to kind of like make sure that
Right.
everything's coordinated for the changeover. Obviously overnight that changes,
Yes, it does.
so I'm typically only with whoever's in the crew car overnight. But we've been lucky enough also because obviously I'm pushing kids with disabilities. Like you want to be, and I'm on the streets, like you want to be safe. So we've been escorted by the county sheriff department here for safety throughout the route as well. So it keeps myself
okay.
safe, my crew car safe, and most importantly, the kids safe.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds
So
like you got a lot of support.
Yeah, yeah. Thankfully, I do.
And that's
so
fantastic.
was this
Thanks.
did you do this for the kid, the purpose for the kids, or was it to raise awareness, or was it a donation aspect to this event?
Yeah, so the first 2 years we fundraised for a local nonprofit that helps the medically fragile community, so kids and adults with disabilities locally. But this year, since we started our own nonprofit, it is for we're fundraising again, and all funds are going to our nonprofit to continue to create these running experiences and opportunities for these kids and adults. Because I'm sure you guys have been part of many races, and you don't really get a lot of inclusive opportunities. Like, you don't see a lot of strollers typically, or they might not be allowed, or there's just not a lot of opportunities, I think, for these individuals. So I hope to create the running races for them to be able to kind of do that.
Okay. So
That's
would you say
absolutely
that
fantastic.
if someone were to do this,
Thanks.
they would need their own adaptive stroller? Because I'm thinking that's probably a piece of equipment that not many marathon trainers or runners say, "Oh, I need one of those," and you're not going to go to the running store to buy one of them.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah, so the idea, so I only obviously have one right now, but we just
yeah.
started the foundation. So the idea is that with funds, we'll be able to purchase the equipment to be able to have more opportunities for individuals. For
Okay.
this year, it's just a big launch event that we're doing in September. I'll be doing another 100 miles, and we'll be the same idea as just one stroller this time.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, we have a bunch of people that have created teams that either just want to help raise awareness for this community and funds for them, but also teams of kids and families that want to participate. So any of like the fundraising teams are basically dispersed throughout people that are participating, not participating, just want to support the cause kind of thing.
Yeah. Is it
That's
mostly
awesome.
local support, or do you have people come all from all over right now to help?
Yeah, I mean, a lot is local, but my physical therapy clinic, we have clients that travel and families that travel to us from all over the U.S. for a specific program we offer. So we have families that come to travel just for this race, which is a really cool thing that they want to be part of. So they want to make sure that they're in New York for it, which is cool.
That's
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah.
Is there a particular company that you get your adaptive devices from?
Not yet. I mean, the stroller is from one particular company, but there's a lot of different. I have to do a lot more research on the types of equipment because there's so many new types of strollers, running strollers that you could push with that I'm sure are much better than the one that I have that make it much easier on your body as a runner.
Right.
But right now, we're just like the infancy stages. So I
Gotcha.
don't have any particular companies that I've worked with for specific equipment or
Okay.
anything.
Okay. So Sam and I are both, obviously, well, a lot of people that listen know that Sam and I are big shoe geeks, and we ask this question to all our guests. So, what shoe do you train in, and do you actually have a different shoe that you run 100 miles in? I imagine this is all on road, so it's a road shoe.
Mm-hmm.
So, spill the beans. What kind of shoes do you like to run in?
I only run in Brooks Ghost
Okay.
shoes. Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What were you
Okay.
expecting?
Maybe something with a little bit more cushion if you're going to be in there. I mean, I know a little bit about shoes. I work at a retail shoe company and
Okay.
sell shoes, and so I know the Brooks line pretty well. But they're very comfortable. A lot of people buy them from our store. It's probably one of the more popular brands and line and models. The Ghost has been around. Model 16 just came out. Is that the shoe you're in? Are you in the 16?
I just bought another round of shoes to get me through training. So I have, I'm like through the models, right? Like as I'm running so many miles in training that I'm
Right.
getting up to the 16 now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, same way. Same with me. I'm not in the. I don't always run in the latest model because I like a shoe and I'll buy it again, and then it
Yes.
takes a little bit of time before it wears out. So okay,
Well,
so Brooks is your shoe, and you train and run in the same shoe, and that's probably good for your foot and your foot
what are
strength.
the other shoes that you had prior? What was the other brands?
Oh my gosh. Back in the day, I used to run in Nikes, which are like the Nike, at least the kind, I don't even remember what kind it was, but they had zero support. And I had started to get like Achilles tendonitis, and or
Right.
at least like the feeling of it. And I was like, oh, I should change my shoe. So then I tried Asics, and then I tried New Balance, and like none of them worked. And the second that I stepped into Brooks, my tendonitis went away. And I'm like, if it is not broken, do not fix it. So
Yeah.
I've
Right.
just literally only stuck with Brooks. I haven't tried other shoes because I'm just like, I just know that it works and I don't get injuries. So I'm just going to keep going with it.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I
I'm
used to
glad you
swear
like it.
by Hoka's at one time.
Yeah, a lot of people wear those, I feel like.
Yes.
Yes, that's a popular shoe as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And something else you mentioned, and I'm going to segue a little bit, but you said that your support car, driven by your father, had your nutrition.
Yes.
So Sam and I are both we train for marathons, and we take a lot of nutritions and we experiment. What do you have, a gel or a hydration Endurolite powder that you prefer? I'm sorry,
Good
Sam.
question. The fuel part is probably the most area I have for improvement. So I, for nutrition wise, I don't do gels. They just gross me out, to be honest. um, but I've put like the spring energy, it's like an apple kind of concentrate type of thing in my fluids before. I've done element in my
Mhm.
fluids before.
So good.
But a lot of the fuel, I honestly do fruit. I do a lot of fruit, like watermelon, because it has a high water content, and
Mhm.
melons and stuff like that. It feels good because I'm typically running in the heat.
Right.
So I haven't really strayed um, from like a water Gatorade mix, honestly, and the Spring Energy fluids in my water and element. And solids are like, it's basically fruit, and I try so many different things, and I've tried fig bars and pretzels and all this stuff, and I don't know
Mhm.
why it's so hard for me to actually fuel appropriately on these things.
Right.
But I still make it to the finish line, so that's a good thing,
Okay.
right?
Always a work in progress with your body.
It
Yeah. So
is.
yeah. So ultras, definitely, there's a lot of eating involved. So I did an 18-mile trail run last weekend, and they had stops every 6 miles, which I got to stop at a few, and they had pickle juice and pretzels and cookies and watermelon and Gatorade. And one thing that they had on the course that I've never seen before, but they offered us ice cold pierogies.
How was that?
Really?
A, a running pierogi, it wasn't too bad.
Really?
It's food. It didn't sit well. I ate one, and I guess a little bit later I did get a little bit of a, I had just like cheese in my stomach, and that wasn't very good.
Mm.
But the pasta on the outside was really good. And so
That
that was
makes
an
me
interesting
nauseous just
thing.
thinking about it, honestly.
Yeah, so they had pierogies. Something that Sam, I'm going to have to mention this now is a good time, but this podcast is finally sponsored by a sponsor, and that sponsor is Hammer Nutrition. So I'm going to recommend, Christine, that you guys check this out. Um, they do have great gels. I'm showing these on screen if you're watching, but these are the Hammer gels. Hammer gels are really clean, 90 calories, 22 grams of carbohydrates per pack. So it's got a good amount for such a small serving. Their recommendation is to take it 15 minutes before you start and every 30 to 45 minutes. They have about a dozen different flavors, from chocolate to um, Montana huckleberry, which is a berry that grows wild in the near where in
Very
Montana.
popular in Montana.
And so they have several different flavors. My particular favorite is the chocolate peanut butter. I think this is just peanut butter, but that one's nothing goes better than chocolate and peanut butter. They also have other products. So electrolyte drink. This I put in my water. It's called Heed 2.0. It doesn't have any real sugar in it. 2 grams of sugar, but it has a lot of sodium. and a little bit of carbs in it. So it's a great endurance drink, especially when it's hot. They have different flavors too for heat. And then when your run is all done, you need to recover correctly. So they have
The
a product
recovery
called
stuff is really good.
Recover Right. This one is more protein based. It still has some carbs, but it also has protein in it for you. And really good products. Thank you, Hammer Nutrition, for sending these products along for us to share with our athletes. And we appreciate them and their products. So that's it for the first plug on All Men Running. Hopefully you guys like that, Hammer.
I like it.
What else do we want to know, Christine? I mean, you're really an ultra runner, but you're an ultra runner with, I'm not going to, with weights. So running an ultra is tough enough. I've never run more than 30 miles because I got lost on a marathon once. And when ended up going long. It was a self-supported marathon, and I ended up going 30 miles. So I count that as an ultra because anything over a marathon
You
is an
definitely should, for sure.
It definitely is.
Right. So that's, but I haven't, my goal one day is to do a 50K, which I guess is about 35 miles or so.
I think it's 31. You were right there.
Oh, really? Darn it. I should have kept going. So I was just short of a 50K.
You will. You will.
So training for 50K or marathon ultras is quite a lot. So how many miles a week do you train, or how many hours, if that's how you do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So because I'm running my businesses, and so I'm just super busy during the week. My runs during the week are not that long. They're maybe at most 5 or 6 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do a gradual buildup on the long run on the weekend. So weekly, it just depends on how long the long run really is. But like this weekend, I'll be running a 50 miler. But I haven't run more than, 10 to 12 this week. So, typically it adds up just on the long run, and it fluctuates a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So you do a typical long run on the weekend, but yours are going to be just much bigger, and you're gearing up towards it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And will you do this with, just as a run, or will you do this with child in tow?
So I have one family that's meeting me out there for training, and otherwise I'll be pushing sandbags. And what I try to do on my training runs is at least push for 50% of it. So I'll probably be pushing at least 25 this weekend.
Wow. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
So strength is important for you then. What kind of strength routines do you do at the gym to make sure that you're strong enough for this?
So as our training ramps up, I actually do less of it. But I was doing 2 to 3 times a week of strength training, especially for legs and core. But your upper body has to be strong too, because you're pushing. So I was doing 2 to 3 times. Now it's down to 2 times a week. And then as it gets like crazier, busier towards the actual race, then it will be probably 1 time a week. But I do a lot of glute work. I do a lot of body weight supported stepping up, like resistance, a lot of resistance, lower extremity resistance training with glute bands and dumbbells and all that good stuff, which I have a pretty good routine of. And then a lot of upper body and more like shoulder back kind of stuff, because the endurance really has to be there for that,
Yeah.
For longer periods of time. So it's pretty much consistent with rotating between those for my strength days.
Okay. So I imagine at some point you talked about Achilles tendonitis, and do you all off yourself go see a physical therapist to help you?
Never. Actually. No, I mean, knock on all the wood, I have never had a running injury. I've had like little tweaks and twinges and that kind of stuff that has slowed down training for a period, like maybe a couple weeks or something, but I've never really had anything that's been significant. So I do as my recovery, honestly, I do like hot yoga classes during the
Uh-huh.
week. And I also think that helps me heat train for like the running component of it in the heat. But I don't have a regular routine of seeing any other specialists to help me in that recovery mode.
Do you see people without disabilities, or just kids that special needs, adults and kids?
It's mostly kids with disabilities. We see some, not any type of like orthopedic injury is not really our realm. It's typically any neurological diagnosis.
Neurological.
So whether it's
Okay.
a disability from birth or some sort of accident or something like that, we'll see, or any
Thanks
other
for
type
listening
of
to this
neurological
episode of
type
Old
of
Men
thing,
Running.
like a stroke
Please
and
like and
or something
subscribe
like
on
that.
the YouTube channel Old
Seizures.
Men Running, and
Yeah.
leave a comment
Yeah.
if you like this episode or you want to hear
Unfortunately, I
something
did have a
about a
stroke.
future episode. Thanks for
People I talk
listening
about
and
in my
enjoy
story,
your
and
running.
only my wife thinks it's affected me. I think I'm perfectly fine, but she says otherwise. So, I mean, well, if anything, it made me more in love with running. I try to just beat yesterday. I believe in that statement very frequently. But yeah, I don't do anything for that right now. I mean, once you have the stroke and you feel better, I think there's nothing I do daily or weekly, even annually, to check. I mean, I go to a physical doctor and make sure that my ticker is still ticking as it's supposed to, and I do a good job of recovery as well. We talk about that a lot on the podcast, where we do cold plunge and hot sauna and foam roll and massage gun, and we eat well. Sam and I both eat well. So
Right.
I think the best thing you can do is just take care of yourself so that you can do what you do. It's hard enough to do it, but you have to. It's not just the training; it's all the other things. And I mean, we can probably spend the whole hour on just mindset of running that far, but maybe we'll save that for a future conversation. Because when you're running that far, just what do you think about? I mean, you just can't let your mind go. You're running with another person for a lot of it, so it's important that that your mind is very active and in space,
Absolutely.
right there, right. If something happens, you need to be able to think quickly. What else did we want to know about this amazing woman? I am so impressed with what you can do. It's almost like I don't even know what to ask you.
Thank you.
Well, we could put your link to your organization or for yourself on the podcast, right, Scott? Somewhere
Yes, in the show notes, we're going to
in the
put a link to your
in the show
podcast.
notes, we can put a link, and our listeners can go ahead and click on it and possibly make donations or learn more information.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we certainly will do that. And when I'm ready to run that far with you, and when you have other people running, I'm in New Jersey, not too far from Long Island.
Okay.
I don't know if I would want to have a passenger, but I might run next to you for a little while and keep you company for 20 miles or so.
That would be great. That's what that's what most people do. I'm the only one that pushes, so don't worry about that. But
oh, good. Okay.
The event is September 28th and 29th. So if you don't have anything on the calendar, save the date. You can come out. That'd be great.
Okay.
I'll help your dad out in a support car.
Sam's an excellent driver.
You'll keep the ice fresh in the cooler, right? Yeah.
I would mix in the Gatorade for you.
I'm being sarcastic, but yeah.
So, thanks for joining us, Christine. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Absolutely.
Best of luck with your training this hot summer, and I know you're gonna complete your goal. And September 28th, 29th will be an amazing success. So, thank you for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
It was an honor meeting you.
Okay. You too.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Sam and I will talk this again. We might have another guest, or it might just be the two of us. So stay tuned, and thanks for listening.